Today, we dive into the art of whip grafting. If you've ever wanted to learn how to seamlessly combine two plants into one, you're in the right place. We'll walk you through the essentials of hand and knife control, so you can make precise cuts and secure a perfect graft every time. Let's jump in and start grafting like a pro.
Okay, so using the knife we just sharpened previously, just going to show you the grafting technique here. This is for a whip graft, but this is about the knife control. So just literally pull it in there and then pull it off. Notice it's thumb over thumb. My thumb is there, my right thumb moves with the blade, so it's a shoulder movement, it's not a hand movement. And then I'm literally just cutting little chips off. And then as I go, I'm actually wriggling the material out with my left hand to keep it at the right length. So that bit of material goes into my hand above the blade so that I can engage the very base of the blade. That way I'm getting a nice slice cut. If I go like this, I'm going to do wavy cuts. That's chopping, not slicing. So you have to get the blade down as parallel to the material as you can, which is where the advantage of that protruding nose on the blade is that as you're coming through the material, that's going to draw through to the other side. If it curved down, you can see as you come there, then the blade wouldn't cut right through the material. And it's even more accentuated on larger material. So the trick is to get control. The length of the cut is determined by how much I rotate my thumbs. So if I want to make it really long, I go the blade quite parallel with my body, up and down my body. If I want to go short, I turn the blade this way. It's still a slice, but I can make those cuts very, very short by slicing with the blade running towards my body more, right? So the further it runs up and down your body, the longer the cut is. So the best way to learn to graft is to get some material like this and practice like this for about, I don't know, an hour. You only have to do it a few times a day to get it bedded in. So if you have a go, get some material, do this for 10 or 15 minutes, get your technique right, then have a breather because you do get fatigued out and your knife will get blunt after a while because you're doing a lot of cuts. Every 2 of these is a graft. So if you do a few hundred of these, you've done 100 grafts. That's halfway through a worn out knife, or a blunt knife. So be mindful of that. You don't expect your knife to last all day if you're doing this sort of practice or if you're grafting. People that say they don't sharpen their knives very often don't know what a sharp knife is. So the cut should be about 3 times the diameter of the material for making it easy to tie, I would expect, and for graft area, if you look at those, if I bust that up, that's about 3 times the length. For really small stuff, I make it about that long anyway, just to make it easy to hold on to. If you're doing things that are 2 or 3 millimeters, a 6mm graft is about this long. That's more than 6, is really hard to hold on to. So regardless, when it's small, I try and make it about 15 or 20 millimeters. That makes it much easier to tie and do all those sorts of things you need to do. Okay, so yeah, just practice chopping little wafers. They should be parallel. If you're getting misshapen wafers, then obviously you're changing that blade angle. This is a shoulder movement, it's not a hand movement, so I can pull it away with my left hand if I want to, or my my left arm or my right arm. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word hand. It's definitely a shoulder movement. Someone else could pull that away, or you could put it on a spring and literally pull it away. Okay, so nothing moves. Once my thumb sits there, then nothing moves in my hand. It is literally from the shoulder. I can do this looking away because this motion is all shoulder motions and I can feel everything there. It's very controlled and there's no stupid amounts of force. And there you go, they've turned that piece of material into a whole heap of chips like this. And that's what you want to do. That's good practice. So periodically while I'm grafting, even while I've just done all these Jacaranda chips as a demonstration, you can see there's sap build up along the blade there on the back edge of the cutting edge, and you'll also get a little bit on the back of the blade too. So as I'm grafting, this is a methane water mix, which is sort of a disinfestation technique, and then I just try and wipe off as much of that sap as I can on the edge of the jug here, obviously pulling away from the cutting edge so I don't chop the knife into the plastic and blunt the edge. or chop the edge of the jug up. Once that's clean, I then wipe it on my sleeve here, which is not sterile, but it gets the metho off and clears off any of that loose sap, and then you've got a nice shiny blade again. So I do that periodically every 30 or 40 grafts, or if I think I've touched something that's not entirely clean when I'm grafting, I'll do that protocol as I go. Now, it's not sterilisation, it is a hygiene protocol. It makes you think, is this blade clean? Has it been contaminated by cutting a diseased rootstock or a diseased piece of sign material, which happens sometimes. You make a cut and there's a dead section or in the wood or something like that. It is literally just a protocol. Make you think, is this knife clean? Should I keep using it? Remember, grafting is like a surgical procedure. So you're cutting into that material, into the trunk tissue, so that's a lot of exposed areas that can get contaminated and get infected. So definitely have a nice hygiene protocol for all of your tools, whether it's your secateurs or your knives, so that you're always thinking, is this clean? Okay, so we're going to do a demonstration of whip graft on jacarandas, but the first thing I'd like to demonstrate is how I hold the rootstocks. That frees up my thumb and index finger to hold the sign and the tape respectively without losing control of anything and having the sign fall off, which is why people will do a whip and tongue graft, so that it's locked in there, or a top wedge, because it's locked in there and you don't have to worry about that so much. So the critical thing is learn to hold your rootstock without your thumb and index finger, rightio, so that gives you that stability. So let's do a graft now. So nice long cut there, at least 3 times the diameter of the rootstock, which that's well and truly that. And then the sign, I'll match that up. Long cut like this, nice enough. If you want to, you can take a bit off the top. I hold the knife in my little finger because it doesn't do much else. You can see that's held there securely. Index finger holds the sign on the graft union, frees up my thumb to start the tape on the back edge. I sweep it around, and then I've got full support on the rootstock here, and then I just keep dressing it. And you can see that I'm dressing the tape against the rootstock and the sign as I go. I don't stretch it out and wind it on. And then I sneak my hand up, my left hand up, to fold it up there, so I'm supporting the sign and not pulling it off as I go. And then you can see that's securely tied. And that's a whip graft jacaranda. Okay, so whip grafting brachychiton here. Use this little tiny knife. It's got a much shorter blade. It is a budding knife, but for little whip grafts like this, it's just perfect. It's surgical steel, so it holds an edge really well. So this is the technique of holding the rootstock. That finger over, this one under, that supports the rootstock and frees these fingers, that index finger and thumb up, to hold the sign on and also start the tape respectively. So 3 times the diameter of the rootstock. Got a little sign here prepped and ready to go. Same deal again. Do that. Knife gets held in my little finger there. It's clean, I don't have to put it down. That holds the sign on the cut. That frees up my thumb to start the tape, which I've split in half so that it's easy to stretch on. It doesn't get out of shape and then start to pull things off that the full width tape does. I'll just sweep around nice and slow here for the demonstration purposes, and then fully wrap over the sign, stretching this out as I go, and then cover over the top. That's a fully completed mummy graft that can go in any environment and strike.
And there you have it. With a little practice, you'll be whipping out perfect grafts in no time. Remember, it's all about steady hands and sharp tools. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tips and tricks. Happy grafting, and see you in the next video.